It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. Today we're going to be covering the speed team. Now, this is not your traditional speed team with Madeline. This is not focusing with healing like Herb and Cotton. And this is also not doing the quad front either. Of course, this necessarily might not be the most powerful team in the arena, but it definitely is a fun one. And this is why. I'm nicknaming it the Breaking the Speed Limit team. And so everyone's focused on helping each other. Wildberry gives damage resistance to all the team as the hits keep coming. Caramel Arrow sends out the bombs and also jumps back and forth between the lines, both taking and resisting damage at certain points. Parfait is giving extra defense so that there's a little bit more survivability, as well as some debuff resistance, because Parfait, I feel, runs a little bit better than Herb in certain situations. Lilac makes everybody's attack stronger, not necessarily their skills, but just their regular attack. And then Tiger Lily gives some stuns while also having some tricky transformation magic. That way, it's not an instant one-shot on the backline, which gives more time for the team to survive and to utilize the insignia treasure as well. So, real quick, the toppings. They 100% need to be upgraded further, but it is, as you know, very hard to get massive toppings of great power and proportion very quickly. So this is what I could muster for the time without stealing from other cookies, because I try to only build 1 to 2 teams at a time, and I try to make them grow as I can, because unless there's an absolute need to steal toppings, I usually try not to. So, second one's going to be Caramel Arrow with the damage resistance, critical, and attack speed. If I could get this put up to the perfect number, this would be a 70% critical, a 30% damage resistance, and a 15% attack speed. It would be so incredibly powerful that it would be permanently staying on Caramel Arrow, because that is, in my opinion, the most powerful build. However, it is hard to get to that for the time, and if you do not have the monument upgrades, critical apple jellies is just not going to be that beneficial for you at the time, because you don't have the damage up for critical damage, which is in labs, it's in monuments, it's in a couple things. So for those reasons, it's beneficial for me at this stage of the game, where for you, you may benefit better from apple jelly or caramel toppings at the current point. And so I can cover that at another point if you want to discuss, or if you just want to leave your feedback in the comments, we can discuss that too. Lilac has some not great toppings overall, but this, yet again, was the best I could do. Cooldown of 15%, no damage resistance, and a little bit of everything spread around elsewhere. If I could have the perfect setup for this specific team, I would have a 25% cooldown, I would have a 30% damage resistance, and I would actually also have 15% attack speed. I'm not so worried about Lilac's attack power or HP or critical percentages being too high, because I want the attack speed to happen so quickly, that the animations happen so quickly, so that it's just repeating and recycling on the team as fast as possible. It can create enormous numbers, and I love the idea. Parfait does have chocolate toppings too. Pretty decent here, 21.9% cooldown, only a 7.7 damage resist, and we have some critical resistance, so that's nice. But if I could set this up better, it would be full cooldown, full damage resist, and full debuff resist on Parfait. Reason is, yes, the healing is affected by attack and critical percentages. Yes, technically with health, you could have more health to heal. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. However, I think that the debuff resist would probably be best on Parfait, because that is her whole point anyway, is to add debuff resistance. So the higher it is, the less she is affected by certain debuffs. Therefore, the more beneficial she can be as a healer to the team. Then, Tiger Lily, also running chocolate toppings. Yet again, best we could muster, but we have 15% cooldown, 8.5% damage resistance, and a spread across. If I could do specific setups here, I would go for the 25% cooldown, a 30% damage resistance, and also a 15% attack speed here. This is mainly just for this team build because the whole point is we want to break the speed limit. We want the cops to come over and pull us over and ask us why we were going so fast. And that is the whole idea and the whole goal. So we're going to start with a few teams. This one is a double tank team with shields, heavy DPS damage, and a healer in back, as well as monocle, which should take care of any debuffs and also take care of their healing on their side. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to charge right in. So as you can see, even with the current setup, the skills timings are pretty great across the board. We get the quick movement in, and then our first to die should be either Lilac or Tiger, which will activate our first insignia, heal everybody up. Caramel Arrow goes back and starts battling it up again. We lose Wildberry, which gets us another insignia, and we have taken the team out. So that match lasted a total of 34 seconds, and we did over 3.2 million damage with Caramel Arrow. Caramel is, of course, going to be the heavy carry here as far as power, but as you can see, Lilac did amazing too, 1.5 million. That is not too shabby at all. Now, if Lilac's attack speed was up with the cooldowns and damage resistance was there as well, then that could have been much higher. Could have almost been on par with Caramel, debatably. So that is an important reason why those toppings, when we can get them optimized, should really truly make some interesting combinations. So let's go ahead and try a few other people. Now this one's going to be hard because we are testing against someone that has a T-Knight team. Now T-Knight teams, they're pretty tough to take down. So this will come down to critical percentages. If we don't get the right criticals, we probably won't win this match, and that's okay. But it's still good to see what we do and how we do. So as you can see, the heavy hits come from their side to begin. We lose Lilac first this time, which means we have less damage output. But we do get the insignia pop-off, so we'll get to keep our Tiger Lily. We get another transformation. Caramels jump into the back for that damage. We're going to lose Wildberry for another insignia pop-off, and then again after Tiger Lily. And then we will lose Parfait last because of the lack of damage resistance, so Caramel is the last to push through. And we're going to get a really good hit here. But as you can see, we did not get good enough criticals as they had the Cacao and T-Knight left. But we got 5.5 million damage. So that was over 49 seconds. So not double the time, but definitely more time. So that's the main reason why we had so much damage. Was just we had time. We had time for battle. We had time for fights. And that's what really caused most of it. But everything else was pumped up too. Between the pump up from Lilac, the robes, all of that pushed that to greater heights. Now we can try that T-Knight team again and see what would be different if we added in Pomegranate instead of Parfait, because then it would be just another buff to the team. But it is likely we'll have the same result. Still an interesting factor to try, and this can kind of show how you might want to shift and change things as needed according to what you're battling and what you're facing. As you can see, we still lost Lilac again first. We're pushing through, and then Caramel's going to jump back with the ability starting to go through, which means we should be losing Wildberry next if we do lose someone. And yep, we lose Wildberry next. We're actually losing Caramel Arrow though before Pomegranate, just because of positioning, and so that can matter a lot too. But we can see how the damage output was and how the time was. So it's 52 seconds, only 4.1 million here. So Pomegranate did not benefit us there. Even though we had a 30% attack buff from Pomegranate, that was not in our favor. And that's because the defense from Parfait was actually more beneficial for keeping us protected and moving forward than the attack buff from Pomegranate was. And so that's an interesting fact to think about. Let's go face a couple other teams. Let's try Speed Team. So we're going to take our speed limit breaker against the traditional Speed Team. Herb, Claire, Caramel Arrow, and a couple good tanks. They've even got Scythe for critical damages too. Let's give it a shot. So we're going to plow in to start. Lilac is going to perish just because of all that heavy critical damage coming from their side. Tiger does go down fast too. You got Parfait healing, Wildberry getting some shots in, Caramel jumping to the back. Wildberry takes the fall, which gives Caramel a chance to move forward. And in a good critical hit from their side, we actually lose Caramel Arrow before we lose Parfait. So we did not get the good strikes and critical hits that time. But here's the damage. We still outperformed their Caramel Arrow, even still. So that is an important thing to think. But let's run that battle one more time, see if the critical percentages are on our side. And this is why critical toppings can be a gamble, because unless you have really high percentages or a way to confirm that your team will be hitting high crits, you might be running into some more problems. So we lost Tiger Lily first that time, Lilac second. We're going to lose Wildberry third here. And then Caramel's doing the good work in the back. We do lose Parfait before Caramel this time, so we get that chance to move forward. And as you can see, the speed, doing great. We still ended up losing it, of course. But we did 3.7 million this time. Same team, criticals were on our side. So if they were perfectly lined up, we should have taken this team out. So this is our team versus the traditional speed team. They've got 2 tanks, and then they've got the better movement from Herb taking the debuffs away. Now here's one adjustment we can make that should allow us to just win this battle. We'll put Cacao instead of Wildberry. Even though that damage resistance is really nice, Cacao has a quite heavy tanking ability and puts that zap ability and removes Eclair's shields. And that's really the biggest problem in this matchup, was that Eclair was getting those shields. And so we've lost our 3 rears because of Cacao there, and the damage resistance is not there from Wildberry. And now we lose Cacao, but we have removed the shields, so we're pushing through their team in a lot better way this time. And we've won it. So Wildberry gave us the damage resistance to keep our rear team, but Cacao specifically countered the Eclair on their side and removed the shields. And that was really the game changer there. So if Eclair or Pure Vanilla had been on their team, Cacao was really the switch-in that we needed. If that was not the case, if they weren't running Eclair, Wildberry wouldn't be in our better favor, because Wildberry would be the one protecting our rear team from dying instantly, and so that's an important point too. And if we had better damage resistance on the toppings, we could have made it even better. So we would have had better chances to win. So I hope this video was informative to you. It's just an interesting team. It's fun. I don't think you're going to climb much of the rank ladders for it. Maybe you will be able to beat people that are in lower points that do not have as high as treasures if this is something you can run. But I would not scramble to move your toppings to this team right away. But it is just a quirky, fun team, especially because it uses 2 cookies that are not used as much right now. And I really like the quirky points of how it blends and how it moves together. And it's just kind of fun. Either way, leave your feedback in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.